Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Rich Clark, a guide to the right path. As a therapeutic practitioner, this week I'm going to be talking about the topic of motivation. Motivation comes up with a lot of people as clients to how you work with them. So with this part, for motivation part 2, I'm going to explain therapeutic methods to help that mindset change. So the therapeutic methods I would use are the following: cognitive behavior therapy, also known as CBT. Now, CBT works in the idea of cognitive is how we change our thought patterns, how we work with that, and our determination. So the first thing you do when you're working with CBT with the client is you are setting SMART goals and with a detailed plan of action. So what is the word, the idea of SMART, or the acronym, is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Specific meaning you narrow down what you want to do. You measurable is work out exactly what is you can do and what you can't do, knowing your ability, and your competence. Achievable, what you can achieve, and then what's relevant to your topic or your business or your issue or whatever that is, and then time bound of how long you give yourself that time to work that out. This I think is very important. It's very good to use as in a business tool as well. Next one for the CBT therapy I'd use would be reframing and reprogramming. And this is what you do is you rescale the motivation guidance into patterns of action and activity. So what some people can do, they can be very motivated, but they don't focus it enough to actually into a guidance to actually make sure they're using their actions as much as possible. So, we have only a certain time frame in a day, and it's amazing how many people they can go off tangents or be distracted. That is where you have to work with people, and you can reframe that within the mindset to help people get over that. Another one for CBT is to help the change patterns of behavior into external drive to implement into the cognitive reframe. Again, it's very much similar to what I've just said there previously, but the patterns of behavior is very important, because what is your patterns you go into? Do you start a project that you're very good at it, but then when it gets to the end, you kind of dwindle out? Because the idea is you're supposed to be equal effort all the time to make sure that you achieve what you need to. And this is actually something we find in a lot of people who struggle with, they want to do their own business. They don't put the equal effort in, and you have to. So next one is hypnotherapy tools. So as a hypnotherapist, I've been a hypnotherapist for over 8 to 9 years. This is what we would do here. So we use guided imagery, which uses future life progression or coaching to a path of motivation. So you may have not have heard of future life progression or coaching. So what it entails is that where people go and work in the past of what they've dealt with in their past, in the future, they actually see themselves 6 months ahead, a year ahead, 2 years ahead, 5 years ahead, if they implement the changes which they would do in session. And they would actually see the difference of when they didn't implement those ideas or what they've learned now or what they would have done previously. So it's a kind of like a comparison guide, and it works very well for people, especially visual people. And also within that, they also see kinesthetically, visually, and they also feel kinesthetically what they feel of what their achievements are, because people are intensively all of them three put together. So suggestion therapy, which would be the other hypnotherapy tool, is to address these deep down behaviors, emotions, or repressed memories. Why do they act to a certain way? Where is their motivation coming from? Is their motivation they had before being drilled out of them through social conditioning, schooling, friendships, relationships, whatever that is? Most people are very low in confidence, especially when they go to a therapist, because they feel they're lacking something and they need that. It's like you're turning on a gas boiler or something like that. You turn it on and the ignition then brings it up and it fires it up. That's kind of what you're doing as a therapist. And the other hypnotherapy tool is challenge the emotional issues by visualizing the client's personal timeline. The client is then guided through their memories to resolve past trauma that affects current behavior and motivation. Now, some people would call this timeline therapy. Some would call it regression. Some would call it visualization. Some call it with also trigger removal. There's loads of different names for it, but it all works the same. And then the last part is psychological tools. So psychological tools, psychotherapy tools, is that because you're not under the subconscious into trance state, you're actually in normal state, which is where we work with 95% of the mind. So this is where we set up schedules that attract weekly and encourage long-term motivation. We do this with a lot of people who have worked where they work digital nomads, so they still have accountability partners, we call it. Then we create values with guidance linked to outcomes of achievement. So when you do this, what do you achieve out of this? How does that work? And within this, all this treatment efficiency depends on the proper assessment of motivation. So in the discovery call, and when you're working with someone, you need to understand the difference of what the person is. Are they intrinsically motivated or extrinsically? Because that underlines the barriers to the action they want to achieve. So if you are interested and you're interested in the methods or want to know more about my methods of how I work, because I do like to think I'm in an integrative therapist, please contact me on www.richclark.net and we can set up a discovery call. And then from there on, we can work out how many sessions you need for this issue you have, or whether you have multiple issues, which most people do, and then we work that out from there. So until next time, speak to you soon.